one and all, and listen to tales of excitement and adventure. Tales of daring heroes, savage monsters, and bards who just couldn't keep it in their pants. Tales of friendship, nobility, drunken foolishness, and unforgettable fun. These are tales of role-playing games, fair listeners, and this is Rollin' Bones. My name is Ryan Howard, and I shall be your guide. Good morning, everyone. Oh, that is not my name. Let me go ahead and change that. That's Venger's name. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Rollin' Bones with Ryan Howard, your source for the best in RPG interviews, except today we are doing Danishes and Dragons, which is your RPG morning show. Because apparently I should drink at least 1 cup of coffee before going on the air. I woke up a little bit late this morning, just kind of lounging around. It was cold here. It actually snowed, which is weird for Tennessee, but, you know, it happened. So it was cold. And because it was cold, you know, as always, when it's cold, you want to stay in bed. So I ended up staying in bed a little bit later than I probably should have, and then, making breakfast, making coffee, getting everything set up. That takes the usual amount of time, and I basically had like a sip of coffee before going on the air. And yes, buy your bread and milk, obviously. You're gonna need that. I don't know. I know people who are not from the American Southeast. Maybe you've heard the legends, but it really is true that, you know, if snow is coming, if the news threatens snow, it will shut down school. Usually it'll get workplaces to shut down, although now that we're all virtual, that doesn't happen anymore. And then also, people buy bread and milk in large quantities. So yeah, most of the rumors that you've heard is true or are true. However, I will say the people not being able to drive in the snow, those are the northerners who don't realize that our snow comes with ice. So they think they can drive in the snow because they've driven in the snow before, and they end up crashing into people. So yeah, there's that. Anyway, this morning we are going to be talking about the Phylactery number 2 from Planet X Games. Anyone who's familiar with this show, you know, you've been watching for a while, you should know that name. Obviously, that is Levi Combs' outfit. Great stuff, great OSR content. Always a lot of crazy goodness coming out of Planet X Games, and we've got a good lineup of releases from them coming right around now, starting with the Phylactery number 2. Obviously, you know, anyone who's followed them on Kickstarter or, you know, backed any of those campaigns, you know that, you know, Phylactery number 2 is coming out very, very soon. Digitally, it's already available to backers. Physical copies will be shipping soon. Then Escape from Skullcano Island will be following shortly thereafter. And then I believe Glimmering Crypt of the Ion King will be coming out in springtime. And in the springtime, Levi's actually going to come back on the show to talk about another project he has coming up based on Planet X's first real kind of production, that being Jungle Tomb of the Mummy Bride. So there's going to be lots of cool stuff, lots of Planet X content on here. because Levi has been very good to the show. He's a friend of the show, been on a couple times. I love the guy, so, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that you guys see how awesome his content is. Excuse me. All right. Cool. So, just a quick word on breakfast, because that is ostensibly why we do the show at 9 in the morning. I'm still pretty much doing the same thing. Actually, doing exactly the same thing. I had my 4 egg whites, 2 eggs, and 2 pieces of turkey bacon this morning. I've been putting Cholula's green sauce on it. I don't remember exactly what that's called, but I can tell you that real quick here. Green pepper hot sauce. It is basically, it's the regular Cholula, but it's a blend of. Oh, thank you. My lovely wife, Elfie, has passed me the bottle here, so I can show you. It's green pepper hot sauce. It's basically it's poblano and jalapeno mixed together. It is delicious. I did not know that you could buy a 64-ounce jug. I'm on their website right now. Based on the amount of sauce that I consume, from Cholula, I might actually need to do that. But yeah, that's my preferred hot sauce. Some people are, Tabasco people. Some are Texas Pete. Some are Frank's. I like Cholula. I like the regular sauce too. It's very good as well. And yes, Cholula executives, if you are watching the stream and, any of you are gaming, well, if you are watching the stream, then I'm assuming that some of you are gamers. Hit me up. I will lend my skull logo. I'll have to talk to Andrew Kolb about that, but we can see if we can lend out that skull logo for a special Rollin' Bones Cholula. Elfie, I will eat that hot sauce. I keep telling you, it's good stuff. So what Elfie is talking about, for anyone who's missed the past couple Danishes and Dragons, Elfie and her father and a friend of hers, her dad likes to grow peppers. He loves growing these just like insanely spicy peppers. He grows Carolina Reapers, he grows habaneros, he grows ghost peppers. And they did this thing back in September when I was in Charlotte, when we had that hiatus from the show there for a week. They did this class. I don't know if it was class or if they just kind of followed a recipe, but they basically made their own hot sauce using his peppers. And Elfie made a sauce, habanero sauce, and then also I think it was a Reaper sauce. It might have been a ghost pepper sauce. But we still have both of them, and they're very good. There's some other stuff mixed in there. I think the Reaper sauce has plum in it. But, yeah, ghost pepper. The ghost pepper sauce has plum in it. But yes, it's good. It's ghost pepper. And if any of you guys have ever had a ghost pepper, you know that they're overpowering. They're very spicy. Apparently celery is the secret ingredient, which I can taste in the habanero sauce, but in the ghost pepper sauce, it's a lot of just kind of ghost pepper. So yeah, that's what Elfie's referring to in chat here. But yes, I do have a connection to homemade hot sauce. And I do enjoy homemade hot sauce, but look, I like Cholula, okay? Sue me. I got very excited in Cobra Kai. It was a episode in season 2. They were at a Mexican restaurant, and they had the green Cholula on the table, and I was like, look, there it is. There's my green Cholula. Felt very validated. Not perhaps as validated as anyone who drinks Coors Banquet, but, up there. That's another interesting thing I've seen. Just having watched... Elfie and I finished Cobra Kai last night. First of all, fantastic show. Great. The entire time we were watching it, I had this thought in my mind. I was like, this feels like Star Wars. It had this weird kind of Star Wars-y feel to it, but it was also set in the modern day. There's a lot of, light side, dark side kind of stuff going on, and it made for a very interesting show, and a very fun one. But the entire time I was thinking, I was like, the people who made the Star Wars sequel should have just, gone with this. They should have done something like this, something reverent and respectful to the past, but, building a new generation up and, creating new things while also exploring these old things that, maybe need to be put to bed, maybe haven't been resolved between these characters. So it was interesting to see. But in watching that show, this is not a spoiler because you see it from the first minute of the first episode. Johnny Lawrence drinks, I think, exclusively Coors Banquet throughout the entire show. And I have never had Coors Banquet, but I was looking it up, and every positive review online mentioned Cobra Kai. And so whoever brokered that deal with the producers of Cobra Kai at Coors, you've done your job very well. So, anyway, that's kind of my ramblings and rantings. Yeah, it is, and welcome, Loopy. It is interesting to see the show kind of make that jump. Now, I did watch a video on kind of the history of the franchise the other day, and apparently Ralph Macchio, when they got him to agree to be on the show, he really wanted it to be a Netflix show, but Netflix was not... they weren't sure about it. And at the time, YouTube was doing that big push with YouTube Premium. And so they had the offer that would make the show come to life. And so they went with YouTube Premium for the first 2 seasons. And then, as Google likes to do fairly often, they pulled the plug on something they probably shouldn't have been doing to begin with. And Netflix picked it up because it was super popular. That's basically the only reason anyone had YouTube Premium. And I imagine most people who were watching it were pirating it. So, yeah. But yes, Cobra Kai, amazing show. Amazing, amazing show. And I am now waiting for Season 4 like the rest of you. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump on over to some screen share so we can take a look at the OSR madness that is the Phylactery issue number 2. Alrighty. Here we go. Phylactery number 2. Let's zoom out here so you guys can kind of take in the full glory of this cover. And I was just reaching over to my shelf real quick to grab my copy of Phylactery number 1, just so you guys can see, what you're in store for here. This is a zine. You can see the image on the back, talking about the cover for issue number 2. But this was funded with Zine Quest 2. That's where this came from, Zine Quest on Kickstarter, which has been really interesting. You hear a lot of people talk about stuff from Zine Quest recently, like Stu and Hambone over at Vintage RPG have been doing a couple episodes on stuff that came out of Zine Quest. And basically it's been great for OSR specifically, but a lot of just kind of, smaller gaming stuff coming out of Zine Quest has been pretty cool. And as far as I know, they're going to keep doing it. So, yeah, I mean, just support your creators who do stuff like this, and here I'll show you an example of what we'd be looking at with something like this. So, basically, what we're looking at here, it was an Ed Bickford cover for the first issue. Ed Bickford contributed to the interior art of this one, as well as the interior art of issue number 1. But this time the cover was by Tony Avina, and obviously Levi Combs wrote it, Planet X published it, and you've got some great interior art here. Pretty much the usual roundup of Planet X artists are all kind of, represented here. Ed Bickford is always contributing to stuff that Levi's doing. Lawrence Hernandez is in the Phylactery issue number 1. Adrian Landeros does some amazing work. Like, honestly, truly amazing work from Adrian that I've seen. And Levi shares this stuff with me a lot. Just like when it comes through, he'll like send stuff over and be like, this is what Adrian did recently. And it's always just amazing. Chris Holmes is another one that you see a lot. Diogo Nogueira, he's also, contributed a lot. I think he was in issue number 1 as well. No, he was not, but, I see his stuff a lot. Casey Christopherson actually did some interiors on this one, which is cool. Casey obviously been on the show, great artist. And if I'm not mistaken, because we've had this conversation before multiple times, I'm pretty sure Casey actually was the one who taught Adrian. So yeah, there's that. And then cartography, of course, the great Carl Sternberg is back for this one, and Dan Smith giving him assistance. So yeah, there's your kind of your murderer's row of content creators here. And just to let you guys know what you're in for with this particular zine, what we have in this package is, some magical items, a table of like random things that you can find in a dungeon, random things that a magic mouth would say in a dungeon, which I think is interesting. There's also some NPCs that you can encounter, and then there's a kind of mini scenario and a dungeon as well. Both of them are short. Like, you're not going to get a mega dungeon out of this thing. It's a 48-page zine. But we'll take a look at a lot of it and, just kind of let you guys know what you're in for here. Got a nice little welcome back message here from Levi. And then we get into some of the content here. The Skull Staff of Stelos. Originally crafted by the dread necromancer Stelos, the Breath Stealer, this long, gnarled staff of twisted wood is topped with a charred horned skull the size of a clenched, gauntleted fist. The shaft is smooth and worn, feeling slightly cool to the touch. The Skull Staff of Stelos was lost for many hundreds of winters after Stelos' power-hungry apprentices fell to bickering over it, following his untimely and quite grisly demise. Finally, it was his fawning daughter, a wicked priestess of the leper god, who wrested the evil relic from their machinations, murdering them to their last and seizing it for herself. She herself was slain by adventurers in the ruins of an ancient temple in the southern marshes, and from there the Skull Staff of Stelos vanished, Only recently has it resurfaced in the hands of a powerful undead lizard man witch doctor who has his eyes set on the merciless slaughter and conquest of the nearby borderland settlements. And then down here we've got some great, description of what the Skull Staff of Stelos does. Basically, you've got the, ability to command undead like a 10th level evil cleric. And then if you are already an evil cleric, you command the undead as if they were 4 levels higher. Or as if you were 4 levels higher. And then there are powers. You get 3 charges per day of Animate Dead, 2 charges per day of Cause Disease, Fear 2 times a day, and Finger of Death once per day. And you can speak with dead at will, asking up to 10 questions a day. It does, however, slowly turn you into an undead yourself, which is interesting. It's always cool when you have magic items that will eventually, turn you into something awful. I've talked about how I was tricked not once but twice by cursed magical items. I have since paid it forward, and I've told you guys the story of the Shivering Claw and how basically he took up a berserker axe that was haunted by the specter of a minotaur that wanted him to murder everything. It was very, very interesting, the ways in which Kevin, the player, roleplayed that, and how the party reacted, and how everything came together with that story. It was great. It was one of the highlights of my Dark Sun game the first time around. And I'm interested to see how Claw kind of handles things moving forward. We've had multiple sessions of distance between Claw being exorcised of this demon and, the last time we played. It's been a while. But Claw is still very much finding his way. They're out of this mega dungeon now, so, seeing how the after effects of this thing and how, interacting with things that remind him of his past may, bring about certain reactions from him. I'm excited to see where it goes, and I'm also excited to see, what we can do with the other players. But, anyway. We are still, of course, looking at the Phylactery number 2. So next up, as I mentioned, this is a table of, 12 things that a magic mouth would say. And, for anyone who doesn't know, or, you don't play 5th edition, or maybe it's called something else in the game that you play, Magic Mouth is basically a spell that lets you put a magically conjured mouth on an inanimate object, and it will say, I think, up to a minute. Or maybe it's 10 seconds worth of words or something like that. Basically, it's the D&D equivalent of a voicemail. Or one of those speech boxes from a Buzz Lightyear or something like that. And if you guys hold on one second, I forgot to do some clerical work here, as far as making sure that Levi knows we are talking about him right now. There we go. Cool. All right, cool. So yeah, what you have here, if nothing else, I mean, these options are great. As always, Levi's come up with some truly bizarre things. And some pretty funny stuff. But even if you don't go with these 12 options, these give you a good idea of what a magic mouth encountered in a dungeon, which, as Levi mentions here, it could have been put there, thousands of years ago, or it could have just been put there recently. There could be, some older adventurers that came through here. They perhaps died or, saw their friends die and lived to tell about it. And, they're warning you of kind of impending perils that you could encounter in this dungeon. These are all, like, great reasons for a magic mouth to be placed somewhere. But, you've got stuff like, a bitter warning of go back, there is nothing there for you. And you've got, like a dwarven battle cry and someone pretending to be a god, warnings. One that's really interesting and one that you can definitely utilize kind of moving forward, especially if you're running like an atmospheric horror game. And Seth Skorkowski just put out a video on how to run a horror game, so I still need to watch that. But, that's kind of on my mind and on the minds of people who, I respect and enjoy right now. So, this is something to keep in mind when it comes to horror games. Number 7 here, numerous magic mouths activate in the room unseen unless a detect magic or similar effect is being used. They speak in a susurrus of whispered murmurs and half-spoken phrases that are completely incomprehensible to the characters. After a few minutes, the voices trail off into nothingness. So that's basically, again, I've recently been playing Arkham Asylum again, Batman Arkham Asylum. And there's a section in the game, one of the Scarecrow sections, where you go into the morgue, and the morgue doors are kind of flying open, and then throughout it you hear whispering, and the only coherent phrase that you can hear is, "Get out of here! Get out of here!" So it'd be stuff like that. Like, if you're walking through a haunted house with your players, and you just want some craziness, invisible magic mouths doing all kinds of crazy nonsense, would definitely be a way to freak the shit out of your players. You could also have, number 11 here is a good example of this, but, you could have a hint for a puzzle that you have coming up, especially if it's one that's particularly deceptive. And you could also, if you're a complete and total bastard, or bitch, make it be a false hint. If you really just hate your players and want to kill them, you could have the magic mouth give false information. That might be interesting. Because one scenario that I definitely foresee, and this definitely depends on your play style as a GM and how well your players know you. If you're someone who routinely likes to trick your players, any information you give them via magic mouth, whether it's true or false, they're not going to believe. So if you have built up a lot of cachet with your players, you're someone who, you're typically very open and honest with your players, and you completely want to destroy that relationship with them, you can probably get away with putting some lies in the in the magic mouth. However, any way you do this, there's inevitably going to be one player in the party who basically goes, "I don't think we should trust the information coming from a random voice that we heard in that last chamber." And it may end up turning into the analysis paralysis that a lot of puzzles turn into in D&D. That's why I don't use puzzles very much, or I try not to use puzzles very much. Because, again, and I've talked about this ad nauseum, no matter how simple you make the puzzle, someone's going to overcomplicate it. Someone is going to, think it can't be that simple. It can't be that easy. And then you sit there for an hour. Anyway, that's a great resource that Levi gave us. I think it's fantastic. And yeah, I mean, I definitely will be consulting this in the event that I am using a magic mouth or, need some kind of message to be broadcast. I've used a magic mouth before. I didn't explicitly say, this is a magic mouth, but, I've had a voice speak as they entered a dungeon. That's a cool thing to do, because it freaks your players out. It makes them think there's someone in there with them. So, moving on from there, we've got strange things that live underground and other weird creatures. So this is another kind of, set of monsters from the twisted imagination of Levi Combs with, some stat blocks that can be used. You've got, faceless prophets who are... He calls them nameless, mold-eating whisperers in the dark. I imagine these things are like... I imagine these things are basically like faceless humanoids, essentially, because that seems cool. But they really don't they're not aggressive. According to the text here, basically they will just kind of move about. And if you try to kill them... Actually, I think that this might be a faceless prophet down here. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is a faceless prophet, this little blob of ooze, so it's probably not a humanoid, like I was saying. Although these guys have short swords, so maybe they are humanoid. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Yeah, they are humanoid. Ignore me. I'm a goof. And you've got Froglodites. Basically, they're like a poison dart frog mixed with an ogre, which is amazing. I love stuff like that. Shroud spiders. Ooze cultists of the Slime Lord. I love that. I'm pretty sure that's these guys. Necromantic Fallout. That's interesting. Just the text here, Necromantic Fallout. A horrible magical experiment that was cast aside and forgotten, composed of oozing black flesh that warps and churns before the character's eyes. Any living creature within 20 feet of it loses 1d2 hit points around as this hateful creature that should not be leeches away their life force. If this eldritch catastrophe should touch one of the characters, it drains 3d4 points of damage away, adding it to its own hit point total. Sorry. Healing spells damage it, and a chant spell intoned by a good aligned cleric drives it away. So yeah, basically what you're dealing with here, it's the necromancer equivalent of like toxic waste, but it's alive, and it, because it's made of anti-life, basically drains you just by being near you. And also, for anyone unfamiliar with the debate, there is this half-serious, half-joking debate online about 1d12 versus 2d6. And now the correct answer to, which one's better is 2d6, because your minimum is higher with 2d6 than with 1d12. With a d12, you can roll a 1 and, deal 1 damage plus your modifiers. 2d6, your minimum is 2. And your maximum's the same. Your maximum is 12. But then there's a third option here. There's third party. And it's pretty much never brought up, except for right here with what Levi's doing, and that's 3d4. 3d4 is also a maximum of 12, but your minimum at that point is a 3. So, having something deal 3d4 damage is not something to sneeze at. Your maximum is going to be 12, but, you can't deal any less than 3 damage, which is, that's pretty good. That's pretty good, especially when it comes to, something that's literally stealing your life force and adding to its own. And there's albino worm priests. Who apparently can summon purple worms, so yeah, don't mess with those guys. Oh, God. Ugh. Undead Gut Pile. Basically, similar to that kind of necromantic fallout, the Undead Gut Pile is like a reanimated pile of entrails. My cats are fighting. I don't know if you guys can hear them. Nora just got back from the vet, so Ronan has not had the chance to bully Nora all day. Or all morning, rather. And so he's making up for lost time, because Ronan is a jackass. I love him, but he is a jackass. Come here, Nora. Come here, baby. I'll protect you from the big bad pony. Good girl. Good girl. You want to jump up on the chair? All right. Anyway. Also got worm polyps from the void beyond. It's one thing Levi is great at doing. Just these descriptors of craziness. And then from there, we get to a section that's basically a set of NPCs that you can run into in the world. And they've got, associated magic items that are, specific to them. And these are your long striders and giant killers, renowned rangers of the Untamed North, as Levi put here. So basically, these are your monster hunters. This is like the equivalent of encountering Aragorn or Geralt of Rivia or someone like this. Although more Strider than Aragorn, because I don't think any of these people are kings. So you've got Helka Redspear. Orphaned by a giant raid at a young age, Helka survived on her own in the wilds of the north for more than 2 months before she was discovered by the legendary warrior Skod Goldeye. The old warrior took her in and raised her through his twilight years where she became a skilled tracker and veteran of a dozen battles by the time she came of age. Helka ranged all over the hinterlands of the north for more than 25 winters, doing all that she could to stop the steady onslaught of orcs, ogres, and giants before disappearing into the uncharted wilds. So yeah, this is someone you'd encounter in the forest. Kind of a Red Sonja-like character. And she has a dragonbone spearhead. Or her dragonbone spearhead was recovered. And a skilled craftsman can turn it into basically a +2 spear. Then you have Langlar Greenshadow, an expert woodsman, tracker, and strategist of no small skill. The famed half-elf ranger is known perhaps as the best marksman with a longbow in the entire north. He gained his epithet for his ability to stealthily appear and disappear into the wilderness without a trace. Excuse me. Anyway, he has a great knowledge of the hidden paths and secret ways around the north like no other. In conjunction with a handful of other like-minded rangers, druids, and frontiersmen, Langlar watches the deep passes and gateways to the wild hinterlands for any sort of activity that could threaten the civilized lands to the south. And Langlar has the green bow. Apparently, he has a dozen special bowstrings gifted to him by the elves of his mother's homeland many winters ago. And apparently, he gives them to people who he deems worthy. And if you string your longbow with one of these, it immediately adds a +1 bonus to hit to the bow. Bonus can't exceed +3. So basically, this allows you to turn a +1 bow into a +2 and a +2 into a +3. And it doesn't, like, the danger of it breaking is not that great, apparently, because it is very tough. So even if you don't want to use these rangers in your campaign, maybe you don't plan on going out into the wilderness, you don't like that kind of NPC in your game, they don't have stats, so there's that to keep in mind. But if nothing else, that's a pretty cool magical item, especially as a stopgap between magic items. And you have Belkin Stormbreaker, a skilled tracker known to range far and wide throughout the wilderlands of the frozen north. Belkin's deeds are legendary even amongst other rangers and adventurers. He wields the Hammer of Thunderbolts. So this guy's more of like a Viking type. And he is dead. This also introduces the Council of Crows. In life, Belkin possessed a light silver torque that he always wore around his neck, and after his death, it was passed down to other rangers of the north. The torque is simply made and sturdy, otherwise unadorned, aside from an etching of ravens taking flight. This was a gift from the witch women of Gwirach, who were indebted to Belkin after he rescued several of their number from an attack by a Remoraz. When worn and pressed slightly to the throat, it allows the wearer to speak with animals, but only to crows, ravens, and carrion bird. If you've got a warlock who wants to be real edgy, that's great. Or even, that has a lot of utility. More than you'd think. That will definitely allow for you to basically use, crows and ravens as messengers. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting item. Here you have Longbeard. He's like a 150-year-old ranger with a long beard, obviously. And his modus operandi is basically he appears out of nowhere to help people in great need. He's skilled with a bow and an axe. So, if your party gets into too much crap and you need to bail them out, that's a good thing to do. He also has a close relationship with the wild folk. The blessing of the Cord King is what gives him his long life and keeps his beard long. And apparently, once a year, he can harvest a handful of long locks from his beard that will magically lengthen and weave together to form a rope of climbing. That's cool. That is awesome. And we have Old One Eye. 7 foot tall, looks like Drew McIntyre. Carries an axe. Has one eye. Apparently he's a gentle giant. And he protects people who are hunted or afraid. Which is cool. And he has an eye patch called True North. And it has a simple magical blessing that allows the wearer to be able to always locate True North no matter where they may be standing. Which is cool. And moving on here, you've got some magic items and weapons. First up, you have the alabaster armor of Saint Saldric the Blessed. It has a whole history behind it. It's a +2 plate mail, and it functions as a ring of spell turning 3 times a day, which is awesome. Then you have the Gateseeker. It's a +2 longsword, also acts as a sword of the plains. Helps you detect magical gates. And you can see them even if they're invisible. It can also permanently close an open or active gate by touching the blade to the portal 50% of the time. Each time this ability is used, there's a 5% cumulative chance that the sword will shatter and become non-magical after closing the gate. This detrimental effect is unknown to the wielder and rolled secretly by the Game Master. So keep that in mind, Game Masters, if you want to use that. Don't tell your players about it. Screaming Scepter of Duntheros. It's a Rod of Lordly Might. It's chaotic evil in alignment and intent. So yeah, this is basically like an evil Rod of Lordly Might. It's rechargeable, which is different from the Rod of Lordly Might. And if a sentient living being of 5 or more hit dice is slain by the weapon, the visage of the head of the rod will scream aloud in a blood-curdling shriek, bestowing the scepter with a single charge. The rod has a maximum of 20 charges. So if you kill someone with it, you recharge it. That's awesome. And then here, I've actually got to grab Tasha's Cauldron again, because we've got something that, as Levi was working on this material was not available, but now as it's being released, we have an official equivalent of a lot of this stuff that's coming up now. I'm talking about the Baba Yaga. Not John Wick. Although I do think it's funny that, and this has been talked to death online, but for anyone who doesn't know, Baba Yaga basically means like scary grandma. It's meant to be like the Wicked Witch, Old Crohn, Hag, something like that. It does not actually mean the boogeyman. It is used in that way, but basically John Wick's nickname is like Scary Grandma. So, basically, he's statted out the Baba Yaga here, which the Baba Yaga herself is not statted in Tasha's Cauldron. However, her Mortar and Pestle are. So that's what we'll be comparing here, because Levi has statted those things out. So tall but hunched over with age, Baba Yaga has long, spindly arms that are tattooed with fading eldritch runes that do nothing to betray the great strength she possesses. Her gnarled hands end in long, iron-hard claws that are capable of tearing even the most veteran warrior to shreds. Cold black eyes ringed with a cruel red glare glow above a long, warty nose and a hideous face framed in long, filthy hair. She wears a long, tattered shawl and a necklace hung with many bones and odd trinkets. So she's like kind of an epic level version of like a night hag, essentially. She has the spells and abilities of a 20th level magic user. And she's able to draw spells from the Druid spell list. And she can add any cleric spells that she finds on scrolls or other sources to her permanent spell list, thus being able to prepare and add them to her daily roster of spells when she chooses. And she may also rend and tear her victims for 4 to 24 points of damage, literally ripping them into pieces. She can only be hit by silvered or magic weapons. And that's if she attacks, like, physically. She radiates fear in a 30-foot radius. Oh my god. And if you look at her, you have to save or be stricken with weakness, losing half of your strength points for 1 to 6 turns. I'm guessing that's a d6 roll. She can polymorph into any woodland creature. She has permanent tongues and speak with monster effects in place. She may detect lie, detect magic, know alignment, and read magic at will. And when a creature is slain by Baba Yaga, she has the opportunity to consume a portion of its body. Holy crap. Levi does not pull punches. And if she does that, she can prevent that creature from being raised, resurrected, or restored to life, and only a full wish or divine intervention can counter this effect. When this occurs, Baba Yaga heals up to 10 hit points per hit die of the creature consumed. Oh god. Yeah. This is what happens when you hate your players. Oh, now the cats are bringing the fight in here. So, now we're looking at the Baba Yaga's Mortar and Pestle. The oversized but simple-looking items are often used by the Grandmother of Witches when she travels away from her hut on the mortal plane. The mortar can fit up to 3 medium creatures or 1 large creature comfortably, flying at high speeds for an unlimited amount of times a day. The pestle can be used as a +3 club that does double damage against creatures from the prime material plane if the need should arise. Alright, so that's what her Mortar and Pestle do in Phylactery. They're different, shall we say, to what Tasha's Cauldron lets them do. So, let's see. Properties of the Mortar. The Mortar is a tiny wooden bowl. However, the mortar increases in size to accommodate anything you place inside, expanding, if there's enough space, up to large size, meaning it can hold even a large creature. The Pestle is a 6-inch long worn wooden tool. Once during your turn, while you're holding the Pestle, you can extend it into a quarterstaff or shrink it back into a pestle, no action required. As a quarterstaff, the Pestle is a magic weapon that grants a +3 bonus to attack and damage rolls made with it. So, basically, the Pestle is a +3 club here and a +3 quarterstaff here. That's very similar. The Pestle has 12 charges. When you hit with a melee attack using the Pestle, you can expend up to 3 of its charges, dealing an extra 1d8 force damage. For each charge expended, the Pestle regains all expended charges daily at dawn. And then, while holding the Mortar and Pestle, you can use your action to say the name of any non-magical plant, mineral, or fluid, and an amount of the material worth 10 gold pieces or less. The Mortar instantly fills with a desired amount of the material. Once you use this action, you can't do so again until you finish a short or long rest. You can also use the artifact's alchemist's or the artifact as alchemist supplies, brewer supplies, cook's utensils, an herbalism kit, and a poisoner's kit. You have advantage on any checks you make using the the artifact as one of these tools. And then as an action, while the Pestle and Mortar is within 5 feet of you, you can command the Pestle to grind for the next minute until you use your action verbally to command it to stop. The Pestle moves on its own, grinding the contents of the Mortar into a mush or fine powder that's equally useful for cooking or alchemy. At the start of each of your turns, whatever is in the Mortar takes 4d10 force damage. If this reduces the target's hit points to 0, the target is reduced to powder, pulp, or paste as appropriate. Damn. And then also, if you get inside the Pestle and you're holding the Mortar, you can use it to teleport. You can also travel to different planes using it. So there's some similarities and some differences. Levi's thing here does it. Basically, each thing has one function each, and here they're artifact items, so they're super rare. So they'll do something a little bit better because of what an artifact means in D&D. So there's that. Levi also has Crohn's Brew, which is the color of pus and the consistency of mucus. Levi is the master at writing descriptions that just gross you out. At least they gross me out. I don't know about you guys. And I've got a pretty strong stomach, but like I said when I was reviewing Howling Crater, some of those descriptions were outright stomach churning. And if you drink this, basically your alignment is permanently changed to Chaotic Evil. A saver spell is allowed to resist its effects, but if failed, the alignment changes. And so basically, like, it's a helm of opposite alignment. It's both mental and moral, and you enjoy your new outlook. And you've got the Girdle of Wailing Children, which is a belt. If the wearer's evil aligned, it grants a +2 bonus to armor class and saving throws. Her shawl is magic as well, and she has an Urn of Holding. And from the Baba Yaga, we get to... I'm sorry, Elfie. I'm sorry. But yes, rolled omelets do sound good. I should try that with my eggs sometime. How'd it turn out? Oh, I am seeing it off screen now, and it looks amazing. Yeah, I can show it. You want me to show it? Pony! Sorry, Ronan just tried to trip my wife. Anyway, this is how it turned out. It looks pretty good, I gotta say. It's a little more done than I typically like my eggs, but, you know, it is a learning process because this is a brand new thing. She just got the omelet pan for Christmas, so, yeah. Anyway. Here we have a list of other, you know, NPCs that you could run into at the Old Man's Rumples, or at Old Man's Rumples, which is a tavern. So you've got, like, a retired gladiator, a conjurer, there's a wagon master. You've got Dune Hillgauntlet, who's apparently a swarthy son of a noble who has turned into a tomb plunderer, which is cool. Dulgeth, who's a minor mageling of little consequence, and now he's a priest of like a rotting god. Ham Greatbelly is a fat halfling. And all of these guys kind of come with different hooks that you can use. Farngoth the Fearless, former showman and circus strongman who turned to a brief life of adventuring. He retired after an unfortunate owlbear wrestling accident left him with a gruesome limp. Now he's gambling, dueling, blindfolded arm wrestling, and he has a civilized lizardman companion. Hlundor is a moneylender. He has armed guards with him. Derp is a failed clone spell. Kilhara is a red-haired warrior woman, lithe warrior woman from the Western Isles. She has a rapier with her, a rapier and a dirk. Basically, it looks like she's, about to go adventuring. And then you've got some stuff that you would find in a Lich's Crypt. Or, as Levi says, a whole bunch of weird old crap in a dead wizard's lab. Elixir of Curdled Swarms. Basically, if you drink it, then you take 1d4 points of damage, and you have a -2 penalty to your armor class for up to 3 rounds. At the end of the round, the imbiber forcibly... Okay, yeah, gross. Basically, you throw up ochre jellies, which is disgusting. But you control those ochre jellies. And they may take actions in the following round and persist for 10 turns before melting away. Gloom Dust. Any creature slain while under the effects of Gloom Dust will rise as a shadow within 1d2 days, unless the body is blessed by a Good-Aligned Cleric of at least 5th level. So it creates magical darkness within 15 feet, and you incur a -2 penalty to strength, and if that happens, then you basically become a ghost when you die. And you have the Ossuary of Varakdos. Chipped ceramic urn. It's about 2 feet high and painted with faded images detailing the wicked life of the evil being inside. Let's see. Whoever holds this urn can command the rage-filled spirits inside to come forth and attack a living creature once per day. When this is done, the air is filled with unearthly screams and sickly purplish light emanates from the urn. The spirit of Varakdos attempts to consume its victims, acting as an inflict critical wound spell. The victim can attempt to save versus spell to take only half damage. And every time it's used, there's a 1% cumulative chance that the spirit instead turns on the one commanding it. So basically, the more you use this, the more likely it is that you are going to get your soul stolen. Then there is a Shroud of Black Hour, which is a cloak. It was done by a creature of evil alignment. You get +1 to armor class and saving throws. If you worship the leper god, though, you get a +2 bonus. And it acts as a periaptive proof against disease. Which basically, you don't end up taking any kind of damage from the disease or having any penalties, but you still have like a physical effect. Like if you get leprosy, your body will still have the effects of it, but you won't have any penalties to it. And if you're a good aligned creature and you put on this thing, you suffer a -2 penalty to all saving throws and must save or spell or be affected by caused disease. There's a lot of evil specific stuff here, which is interesting because there's not a lot of evil specific items in the DMG or any of the expansions. I think largely because they expect you to play like good aligned characters, but if you want to do some like crazy evil stuff, a lot of this is interesting. And you have the Rod of Keening Death, which lets you cast Fear once a day, acts as a Horn of Blasting or cause serious wounds. Again, a 1% cumulative chance that every time it is used, it will attract the attention of 1d2 + 1 hags, so up to 3 hags, minimum of 2. And the hags will seek to slay the possessor of the rod and take the dreaded item back. Ring of Eldritch Might. Acts as a ring of wizardry, doubling the base spell capacity of all 1st to 2nd level spells. And it allows the user to recall 1 spell of 3rd level each day as a Pearl of Power. Finally, the Ring of Eldritch might impose a -1 saving throw penalty against any spell cast by the wearer. So, yeah, that's an interesting item. And then you've got some Forbidden Demon Cults of the Outer Void. And these are basically, this is a list of demons that, cultists can worship. A lot of cool art here. Then you have Holly Oakenspear, the Wandering Cleric of the Luck Goddess, a friendly NPC that could show up. She has magical mace and shield. Zealot's Bane. Oh, Zealot's Bane is her mace, and then she has the Coin of the Luck Goddess. And then here we have a mini scenario called the Brood Hive of the Slime God. Basically, this is a seaside cave where you encounter Lovecraftian horrors. Great little image there. Here's the map. And you've got all kinds of crazy stuff that can happen in there. Some straight up... why did I just forget the... Oh, Shadow over Innsmouth stuff is going on with some of these guys. I won't get too much into these because you really should buy this thing and look at it for yourself. You got the Groundhouse Deep Crawl, which is another kind of mini dungeon crawl. Some great Carl Sternberg work here. This is kind of like a chutes and ladders type scenario almost. Because there's chutes that lead down into an entirely new level of the subterranean cavern. And basically you choose kind of where they land. And there's options for what lurks down the shaft. There's a crazy crocodile monster. Alas, the skunk ape done been skewered. The Demon Frog's Fane. I love this stuff. Let's see. Chill layer of the skunk ape. And then there's some giant wasps here, which are amazing. And it came from Spawn Vat X. And this is a scenario where a wizard's tower exploded and there's a lobsterilla. Which is, if you can't tell by the picture, a lobster mixed with a gorilla. I love this stuff. I like, this is amazing. I love this stuff. And you've got some monsters here. Sodden bastards. Murder shrooms. I love that kind of stuff. Flensing hog or death swine. I wonder what the barbecue would taste like from that. I'm scared to try. Okay, there's no description here, so Levi, I will implore you, because I know you'll see this eventually. I have to know what the flensing hog tastes like, or what happens when you try to make barbecue from it. As a proud North Carolinian, I must find this out. I imagine there's some kind of evil eldritch effect, but I want to know. Thank you. Dreadhound of Chernabog, the fire-breathing hound. And then we've got some OGL stuff back here related to, 5th edition. And some teasers for Jungle Tomb of the Mummy Bride for Dungeon Crawl Classic in spring of 2021. So a little bit of an update there. All in all, the Phylactery issue number 2 is more of the same. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that, this is what you should expect. This is the quality of work that you should expect from Planet X. It's ridiculous. It's fun. There's a lot of great options here. Some stuff that compares with stuff that, Wizards put out this year. I can't wait to get my physical copy, like I have of issue number 1, and you bet I will be continually backing these zines as they come out, because Planet X is amazing. I love their work. I love all the stuff that Levi does. The artwork is top-notch, as you saw from some of these images. The artwork is amazing. Always a great product. Always, cool stuff that Levi's putting out. So I'm happy to report the Phylactery number 2 is a resounding success. So there's that. Cool. All right, guys, that is going to do it for this morning's stream. I'm glad that you guys were able to join us and, just take a look at some great work from a great guy in the OSR movement, a great guy in general, Levi Combs, and his Murderer's Row of collaborators on the Phylactery issue number 2. I always enjoy taking a look at the stuff that he's putting out, and I can't wait to talk to him again, come April, when we're talking about Ion King, talking about Skullcano, and any stuff that he's got coming up, in 2021 and 2022. So, as always, thank you guys for tuning in. Just to let you know what's coming up this week. On Monday, we are talking to Joe DeSimone from the Game Academy, or the Academy of Games, rather. Talking a lot about, teaching game design to kids and using RPGs as like a team building exercise for corporations. The spirit of gaming that comes about from that stuff, the spirit of teamwork and collaboration, why stuff like that's important, how gaming brings it about, all that good stuff. It'll be a really interesting conversation. And then next Saturday, I'm not sure what we'll be doing. Maybe more Dark Sun content. Who knows? We won't be doing any painting stuff or anything like that because, I'm moving in a couple weeks and I want to get the studio set up in the new place before I try to start painting again, or painting relative to like streams and stuff like that, because I've been doing painting, and there'll be updates on that. I just put out a Klingon on Instagram. I'm working on something awesome with an airbrush that involves OSL that I'm super proud of so far. We'll see how it turns out. But anyway, I will keep you guys posted on what's going on next Saturday on Danishes and Dragons. I'm sure we'll have a good time, though. So until next time, whether you rolled a 1 or a 20, I'm so glad that you rolled your bones and had your breakfast and your coffee with me, Ryan Howard, and I'll see you next time.